Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. This time we're taking a look at a documentary that heavily features Star Wars and looking at the breadth and scope of what we think of as sort of the 1980s science fiction era in film. What's interesting is this is a documentary that was actually crowdfunded through multiple sources, through Kickstarter, where I've done plenty of crowdfunding as a backer of board games and a few other things, and through Indiegogo, and through their own website. And there will soon be a flash sale for this item beginning on July 21st on their website. So I want to make sure you have this information, have a chance to see this item before that happens, assuming I am able to get a whole bunch of episodes edited within the span of about a week, week and a half here. I think I can do it, hopefully. The documentary we're looking at here is In Search of Tomorrow, which carries the tagline, The Definitive 80s Sci-Fi Documentary. And this is something that, like I said, was available through crowdfunding first. So this is going to be an unusual episode in that we're going to look at the different ways that you could have gotten this through the tiers of crowdfunding, through the different sources as we look at the products themselves. So first, some background, and we'll hit each of the products as we come to them within our description of the ways to get them here. This was a Kickstarter, initially, that launched on April 21st of 2020 and ran through May 18th, and it had multiple pledge levels available. The cool thing about it with Kickstarter is you get to have some input into the creative process sometimes, maybe sometimes find yourself in the credits for something. There's all kinds of ways that you can interact with a creator on Kickstarter more so than you would through just buying their stuff in a store or maybe even connecting to them through, say, Facebook or something like that. So this was a Kickstarter that was very active in interacting with the community around it, had a lot of watch parties, streaming party type things for a lot of the different films that were discussed within it. But if you wanted to get just the documentary itself, which runs about 5 hours long, but if you didn't care about a physical copy of the film, you could get yourself what is basically the digital pledge level on Kickstarter, which was the £30, it was in British pounds, the £30 level known as the Marty McFly. Each level was named after a sci-fi character from the 80s. Basically, it was a digital copy of In Search of Tomorrow, your name in the credits, or you could name somebody else for the credits, access to the online community through Discord, and a chance to attend a virtual premiere watch party for In Search of Tomorrow. Now, if you wanted a physical copy, you could do a £60 pledge, essentially double the price of the Marty McFly, known as the Flash Gordon, to get a Blu-ray copy, region-free, of In Search of Tomorrow. That is this. Now, originally, the slipcover we're seeing here was not part of the Kickstarter until later on when they made it an add-on that you could pay to get added to it. I'm not entirely sure on Indiegogo if it came with it or if it was an add-on there as well. When I purchased it through their website, the slipcover was part of the package. So we have In Search of Tomorrow with the tagline underneath it here. I love the slipcover artwork here. If you look at the individual characters, let me scoot up here. So you have basically the heroes and villains from top to bottom here, from Tron, from Last Starfighter, from Flash Gordon, okay? Then from Terminator, from Blade Runner, from Aliens, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, RoboCop, Predator, and a shot there from Starman. So a cool slipcover here in and of itself. Some of my favorite art I've seen on a documentary release ever, hands down. Love the artwork here. It's also available on a poster as part of the pledges, as we will see. Nothing really on the top, just a continuation, same thing on the bottom. The side is just the title there, In Search of Tomorrow, with the art continuing. The back tells you a bit about it. It says, In Search of Tomorrow is a 5-hour love letter to 80s sci-fi cinema, a nostalgic exploration of the impact and relevance of these beloved film classics, guided by the iconic artists who made them and by those who were inspired by their futuristic visions. This superdoc takes viewers on a year-by-year deep dive into the awe-inspiring film worlds of 80s sci-fi, with larger context chapter discussion topics placed between each year from 1980 to 1989. Breaking down the most popular and eccentric sci-fi titles of the 80s, theatrical and video store releases, In Search of Tomorrow examines compelling insider tales of the creative process, the resonating themes of these imaginative stories, the technology behind the fiction and their futuristic forecasts, the bold marketing of these films, and the political and Cold War climate that impacted our entertainment. That is Cold War, capital C, capital W, because this was Cold War era East, West, capitalism, communism, democracy, communism, that era. In Search of Tomorrow features stunning insights and entertaining anecdotes from more than 70 exclusive interviews comprised of legendary actors, directors, producers, writers, visual and special effects masters, composers, production craftspersons, film critics, and authors, alongside notable experts including a futurist, a clinical psychologist, and an astrophysicist. A rousing celebration of 80s genre filmmaking at its zenith, In Search of Tomorrow taps into that childlike wonder that we all felt watching these movies, while deconstructing and recontextualizing their impact for today's audiences. If that doesn't get you excited to check this out if you're into 80s sci-fi, including Star Wars stuff, I don't know what will. It is fantastic, and long as hell, but fantastic. Lots of people talking about the context of Star Wars and so on, as I will talk about with the actual content here in just a moment. It does note the special features, a discussion with the creators of In Search of Tomorrow. I should note here that in this case, the special feature conversation is a video. It's over an hour long, but it's basically a video. It's a chat with 3 windows with each of the people actually talking in the windows, like a Zoom chat or, whatever, that kind of thing. The bottom there lists the special feature, gives you the stats here. It does have English and Spanish subtitles, as I mentioned there. It has widescreen picture, of course, because Blu-ray. It is 16 by 9. And then cast crew information here, not rated, creator VC, the company behind it, region ABC, it is region free, soundtrack information, their website, and then copyright. Now, the website is important. That is where the flash sale for this will be on July 21st, for those who are still looking for it. That is July 21st, 2022, if you happen to be watching this in the future. The website is 80sscifidoc.com. That is 80s, 80s, sci-fi, all is one word, no dash, doc, D-O-C like documentary.com. 80sscifidoc.com. It is underneath here. I don't know why I just spelled it out loud for you. Inside, you have sort of a standard Blu-ray case with cover art here that is from one of the posters for it as well. It's kind of hard to see because of the reflections here, but you got the kids sort of looking out over the town with all the different spaceships and whatnot. Well, vehicles, not really spaceships necessarily in every case, unless the DeLorean is flying in space, from different 80s sci-fi properties, including the Millennium Falcon down here. Then you've got title there with Blu-ray, and on the back it's essentially the same information again, just done to a different background. Inside you will find the disc, which uses that same poster style art there. In Search of Tomorrow, with the tagline underneath it, creator VC, not rated. It is region free again. Then you got, what is that? Full HD 1080, that's what that says. Then Blu-ray, and then copyright underneath there. Interestingly, if you want, you can actually have a version of the packaging on the actual Blu-ray case that matches the slipcover if you want to take this out, flip it, and stick it back in there. I don't, because we got the slipcover, so what's the point? And a cool little booklet on the inside here. The booklet has a message from the team behind it, images from some of the interviews that they did, a message from the writer/director with images there of people who are part of the team, a cool checklist of the films that they focus on within this, which of course does include The Empire Strikes Back in 1980, Return of the Jedi in 83. Obviously, A New Hope is outside the scope of it in 77, but in the lead up to all this, before they even start delving into the years, they talk about the landscape sort of being set or being launched, so to speak, as a viable film genre in a lot of ways in modern times by films like Star Wars / A New Hope, as we eventually will call it. There's another message there from the team in the back. Special thanks, including special thanks to their executive producers, producers, and associate producers, which is kind of an odd thing, which we'll look at here in just a moment. But if you wanted a Blu-ray copy, then what you needed to be looking for there on the original Kickstarter, you can add the add-on of the slipcover, was the Flash Gordon version. But the Flash Gordon level also included all the stuff from the Marty McFly digital level, so you still got a digital copy and whatnot here. You also got 3 posters, you got a sheet of stickers, and you got a digital copy of their 1980s horror documentary, the first of a series of those called In Search of Darkness. The version that I picked up later did come with all those posters and all those stickers, so we're going to take a look at those here. Always nice to see physical bonus items shipped well here in the little plastic whatever. Plastic, not really a tube, more like a sleeve. So here's a sticker sheet. There are 3 posters, as I mentioned. It's just the art from those 3 posters. We'll see those here a little bit bigger in just a moment. The logo, and then circular stickers for each of the poster types. The first poster here is the main film poster. We saw this used, of course, as the cover art for the interior case there, and the art used on the label. Okay, so there's that, just with the, information you'd expect on a movie poster there on the bottom. This is by a man by the name of Clayton Benge, or B-E-N-G-E. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Then Dave Merrill did this one. This is the one that's used for that alternate cover and for the slip cover. Love this art piece here. Then you have one not used for any of the covers by Graham Humphreys, which is this one. So a Blu-ray copy, stickers, 3 posters, a digital copy, another digital documentary, your name in the credits, access to the Discord community, the virtual watch party, etc., etc. Lots and lots of stuff for that £60 pledge, primarily to get the Blu-ray copy on physical media. But let's say that you didn't want Blu-ray. You want DVD instead. Why? Who the hell knows? But maybe you want DVD instead of Blu-ray. In that case, you could have backed for the same price, £60, to get the Kyle Reese pledge, which gave you this. And no, your eyes do not deceive you. The slipcover is exactly the same. The size is exactly the same. I say, well, how in the heck is this a DVD copy? Remember, we've looked at comparisons of different media formats over time, and there was one format that Star Wars never got a release on. That was HD DVD. It essentially is using an old HD DVD style case. That sort of dark red type case here. Otherwise, the information and whatnot is pretty much the same. It does say DVD at the bottom, and on the back here at the bottom, it does note that this is all region, though it is NTSC, all region DVD. Otherwise, it's all essentially the same stuff, though it does note that the bonus feature, that's that conversation that's over an hour long with the creators, is audio only on the DVD. So you still get it, but it just is a static screen while the audio of it plays, essentially like listening to a podcast or listening to the radio, rather than watching them actually discussing it in the 3 windows. But pretty cool they were able to actually still include that. Inside you have the same booklet, you have the same reversible case, just with the details changed for DVD as with the other side. And then you have the disc itself, which again is essentially the same, just with the information at the bottom changed. Really just the region thing changed to just the DVD regional and the DVD symbol down there. Also no need for the full HD thing because it isn't. The only frustrating thing with the DVD version is that if you look at the back of this, even though all the information is still correct, like the subtitles and everything, notice here, the all region thing is the Blu-ray symbol version of it. It's the exact same slipcover used on both with no alterations, whereas the actual packaging inside does have the alterations to its insert, as does the disc label. So probably a cost-saving move, as you would expect, perhaps, for the slipcovers there, that were, again, sort of an afterthought. Now, let's say you wanted something even more to go along with this. You could have spent £100 to get the pledge called the Admiral Kirk, which is the same as the Flash Gordon, which means the Blu-ray with all the physical goodies, except you also got a t-shirt from among a couple of different choices, and a digital soundtrack by New Retro Wave, and an enamel pin. Then, things got crazy. Let's say you wanted to pledge £800, well that got you the Rick Deckard. You got everything from the Admiral Kirk level, along with 2 tickets to the Hollywood premiere, access to the Top Backers channel on Discord, and a top supporter title in the Discord community, and you got credited as an associate producer on the poster, in the movie's credits, in the little booklet, and so on, and on IMDb. This was apparently limited, it seems, to 30 backers, but then they did another version of the exact same pledge, but just upped the price from £800 to £1,000 and called it the Roy Batty. But essentially the same thing. That does not appear to have had a limit, but only 23 backed at that level on Kickstarter. But let's say you want to go even further. You want all the physical goodies, all the digital goodies, all the Admiral Kirk stuff, But you don't want to be like Rick Deckard or Roy Batty. You don't want to be a Blade Runner character. You don't want to be an associate producer. You want to be credited as a producer. Well, that was available too for £2,400 as a pledge called the Ellen Ripley. This was limited to only 10. Only 3 backers apparently selected it at the time. But wait, there's more. Maybe instead of a associate producer or a producer, you want to be an executive producer, which in this case just means someone who's spent a lot more money. That is double the previous pledge at £4,800, called the Luke Skywalker. All the stuff from the Admiral Kirk level, that £100 level, but you get listed as an executive producer on all those places I previously mentioned. This was limited to 5, and again, 3 on the Kickstarter, at least backed at that level. Holy moly, that is some serious cash. But I'm speaking as someone who has paid to have my son name-checked in a board game. I've paid to make myself a character in another board game, and so on and so on, so I shouldn't judge. But whew, that is some serious pricing, but we are talking about the production of a film. I am content, just me and other members of the Star Wars home video community who did support this at some point along the way, we are content mostly just simply having our name in the credits of the actual documentary as one of the backers here. So then they jumped over to Indiegogo, and in, I guess, April into May, it ended on May 6th of 2021, they launched another campaign. The number of shirts to choose from wound up being 3, 1 for each poster image. If you happen to get a tier that had that. They did add a super backer pin for those who had backed one of their previous projects to get an extra pin showing that they had supported multiple times. Otherwise, the tiers were the same and at the same cost, except since the Roy Batty and the Rick Deckard tiers previously were essentially the exact same thing, that associate producer thing, just a £200 cost difference, they didn't have a Rick Deckard tier, the cheaper one. They only had the Roy Batty version of that tier. Then they made it available again, which is when I got in on it, through their website. Again, 80sscifidoc.com. That's when I backed it near the very end of March 2022, right before they locked down those orders. The prices were in dollars this time on their website. The names were also changed to something more standard rather than being something quite as indecipherable unless you went through and read all the details of each one, of having names based on characters. What I got was the 2 standard pledges. Those are the ones I just showed you here. The DVD version and the Blu-ray version. Those are essentially like the Flash Gordon and Kyle Reese versions. They had the physical copy, the digital copy, your name in the credits, the 3 posters, and the stickers, but they removed the digital copy of In Search of Darkness entirely and replaced it with the digital soundtrack, which previously was only available on that Admiral Kirk £100 tier or above. And it also came with the slipcovers automatically, rather than being an add-on like they were on Kickstarter for like $7 or whatever it was. Now, the prices did differ this time. The Blu-ray, which was produced in greater quantity, was $69.99 as that pledge with the physical goodies as well. DVD was $74.99 because it wasn't produced in as high levels. They couldn't get as big of a discount on that. So for the first time, just in that 80sscifidoc.com website campaign, rather than the first 2 crowdfunding campaigns, they actually did have a price difference for that particular level if you wanted to get DVD versus Blu-ray, and Blu-ray actually was the cheaper option, along with being the better option, but I'm a completist, I got both. But I'm not crazy, so I didn't do any of the higher levels. You could still do an associate producer pledge like the Rick Deckard or Roy Batty levels. However, you again lost the digital copy of In Search of Darkness along with the t-shirt and the enamel pin. So it was basically just the standard option with the associate producer credit, and it was for 1,400 American dollars. Double that to $2,800, you get the same thing except the producer credit. Double that again to 5,600 American dollars, and you could get that executive producer credit. Wow, that is a lot. Now, some quick notes here. As I mentioned, the DVD is NTSC. That is based on frame rate. When I check the frame rate in the system, it does appear to be NTSC. It is all region. Blu-ray is, of course, all region ABC, so you can play it wherever. Digital copies were through Vimeo. It's okay, it's not my favorite platform to use. The document itself, like I said, is about 5 hours. It's about 5 hours and 6 minutes. If you're looking for my name in the credits, I'm at the 4 hour, 57 minute, 54 second or so mark in the credits. It's cool to see other members of the home video community in there as well. The bonus feature conversation I said was a little over an hour. It is actually 72 minutes, so pretty decent link there. If you're looking for something other than just the fact that Star Wars gets mentioned in the opening, A New Hope gets mentioned in the opening, and then Empire gets featured in 1980, Return of the Jedi gets featured in 1983. There's also a lot of notable Star Wars appearances throughout the documentary, not just in the Star Wars segments, including Billy D. Williams, Corey D. Williams, Craig Miller, the Lucasfilm publicist and director of fan relations who discusses the fan club, Dennis Murin of ILM, Clancy Brown, John Knoll of ILM, Deep Roy, John Dykstra, Phil Tippett, and Harrison Ellenshaw, and then even Ed Gale from Howard the Duck shows up. It's just a really great documentary. It goes year by year, and like I said, it's 80, 81, 82, and so on, year by year, but between them you have these thematic things that bring different years together to talk about themes within the production or themes within sci-fi at the time. Really, really cool stuff. I would note it's not for kids. It does have some adult language, and it does have scenes, sometimes fairly graphic scenes, from adult films like RoboCop, for example. It is not rated, so that's not an issue with them saying it's rated R or saying it's rated something else and here's the gore. It's just not rated, so just be aware of that if you're going to watch this with kids. And there's some great quotes in it. My standout, probably favorite 3 quotes of this entire documentary, and you'll notice I'm looking at my notes here because it's a ton of information to talk about this and really get across just how many different ways there were to get it, how crazy it was with those different tiers and whatnot, with this being Kickstarter when most things that come to us don't come through crowdfunding platforms, and just giving you a sense of just how cool this documentary was. I really, really do recommend it, and yes, I did just almost miss the desk with my elbows just then. You did see me almost fall on my face. But I took the notes because I want to make sure to sort of do this justice. It is probably the best general sci-fi documentary I have ever seen. Not the best Star Wars documentary I've ever seen because it is not specifically focused on Star Wars, but Star Wars plays a huge role in it, so that works as well. So the quotes that stand out to me, there's a great one by Will Wheaton, kind of tongue-in-cheek, in which he says, "Before we lived in a dystopian reality, I really enjoyed dystopian science fiction." There's also a great quote when discussing Starlog magazine, which I think it puts in perspective geekdom a little bit, sci-fi fandom a little bit, in a way that I really hadn't thought about in those terms before, at least not as succinctly as this was said. It's when they're talking about Starlog magazine. They note the quote, "Geeks grew not out of necessarily wanting to be Luke Skywalker, but because they wanted to be George Lucas." I find that a very profound statement, coming as someone who's a lifelong sci-fi fan. And then a great quote also relative to visual effects and whatnot from Dennis Murin that kind of sums up what I guess we're going to be seeing soon when talking about the ILM documentary that's coming to Disney+. He says, "Ghostbusters 2 is the film I was working on where I said to myself, at the end of this, we've really reached the end of traditional visual effects. We can't keep doing it this way. The ideas are getting bigger than the toolbox we have." Here comes digital visual effects. Really, really fantastic documentary here. It does come with a little advertising card, by the way. I don't know if it still will, but it's a advertisement for Aliens Expanded, The Ultimate Companion, and In Search of Darkness Part 3, The Final Journey into 80s Horror, stuff that they've put out. So anyway, it's a great documentary. If you want to get your hands on physical copies, there is still an opportunity, but I'm guessing it'll be pretty limited based on how many they produce. So if you are interested in getting this, make sure to keep an eye on 80sscifidoc.com. And again, the flash sale that they have announced on their website is going to start on July 21st. So keep an eye out. Eventually there will be a flash sale. Whether or not you can get all the posters and stickers, whether you can get the slipcovers, whether it's Blu-ray or it's DVD or it's both that are available, that's really not known yet, at least not publicly released through the website or anything. They've only announced that there will be a flash sale. So if you missed the opportunity when things close down around the end of March or so of this year, and now you're like, damn it, that looks awesome, I really want to check it out, but I don't want to have to just get the digital copy, especially not through frickin' Vimeo, well, you will have another opportunity. The question is what will be available, and we will just have to see here in a couple of weeks. So with that, we will wrap up this episode. I know it's kind of a long episode to be on something that is not a standard Star Wars release, but I think this is well worth checking out. It has a lot of Star Wars content and a lot of Star Wars faces in it, and it is just a fantastic item. But once these go out of print, you do find them selling for quite a bit on eBay. So save yourself the money and keep an eye out for that flash sale. It may be the last opportunity to get this thing physically without having to pay out the freaking nose. With that, I think, by the way, that's probably a dystopian sci-fi concept from the 1980s, actually pulling the money and having to pay out your nose. I think, I'm betting that was in a movie somewhere. I'm sure that if it was, it's in here somewhere and I'm just forgetting it. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers. Not just of Star Wars, but of sci-fi in general as well, though Star Wars certainly led the way, as they are willing to focus on in great detail here. Be sure to check it out if you can. I will stop promoting it now and let you go away so you can bookmark that website.